Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Bit of a strange one today. About a month or two ago, I brought my wife a Panerai 914. Now, she only has tiny little 6-inch wrists, but she absolutely adores Panerai. I don't know why, but women can get away with wearing large watches on very slim wrists. The reason she likes it is, this is my Panerai 177. I've owned this watch for some 15 years now. Brought it from new back in the day, and it's fantastic. It's a full titanium model, features the older movement, which is still a chronometer spec. It's very, very similar. It's slightly modified Unitas 6498, and it just looks so cool. It's one of those watches I think looks great. But one of my subscribers, Hector's dad, happens to have the Panerai 915, and both of these models are available on their website still at the moment. And I thought, well, it'd be nice to actually show them side by side, because you very, very rarely ever get to see the two side by side. And it's one of those where it's kind of, it's a close call really. Which one do you prefer? The sizes of both of these watches are, I think it's 44mm by 44mm case size by 13.6mm thick, so actually relatively slim, about the same size as that Hanhart there, and a lug to lug of 53mm, which is quite large, but the strap size is coming in at 24mm. So it's one of those. They do wear, they do wear quite big, but they're definitely watches which have their own unique look. And that's one thing I like about Panerai and some other brands like that, where they basically have their own look. They're not trying to copy the Rolex Submariner all the time, where many brands simply do. But overall, I think they are absolutely superb. So they both have this amazing sandwich dial, as you can see. And what I mean by that is there's two plates here. You have the main dial with cutouts, and then you have the luminous material beneath that. So if I hold this one at an angle, you can actually see what I'm on about there. There's actually depth to that, and you've got the lume behind it, and it looks really good. Also, these ones, this is the 915 and the 914, have this kind of vintage lume to them. If I hold it next to my 177, even though this one is much older than these, let's say 15 years old, you can see the lume is slightly whiter on this model, and it looks kind of cool on these two, but it is that kind of more of a kind of very light tan color, gives it that kind of lume look. The dial themselves on both of them, as they both have the Luminor, Panerai Luminor is this kind of case design really, and the Ed Gennaro, that is simply attained for 8 days. So the movements in both these can go for 8 days. I believe that Hector's dad actually measured this one, and it was coming in at 9 days. So they are quite impressive, but it's not without one slight fault I have noticed, which I'll talk about in a minute. I do like the fact that due to there's no second hand in the center, you do have the solid cannon pinion there, so you don't see an actual a hole on the inside there. If I show, let's see, the watch I'm wearing, it's a bit hard to see on a black one, but if you look there, on most watches you always see that little pivot there, so this way you don't need that. And I do like the way they cap that off. I think it really does look quite good. Now the big difference, obviously, we have a very clean, simple dial on this one. On this one here, we do have the small sub-seconds over at the 9 o'clock position. Now, I've always liked this, being especially both these watches are manual wind. It's always good to see the watches running. But now I've had some time with this, well, I haven't, I've got to see it on my wife's wrist. I almost quite like the look of this now, because it is just super clean. It's one of these where I loved this for so many years, that small sub dial, with the seconds on there. But I have to say, I do quite like this. I think the cleanness of it really does look good. But either way, if you were lucky enough to own either watch, you know, fair play to you, doing well. Now, they're both, I believe these are also chronometer spec movements, but being the fact that you only have 5-minute markers on each watch, that is pretty much out the window, because at the moment, you know, on this one, I can say, yeah, it's 10 to 5-ish. And once it goes past that and it's anywhere in between there, who knows? Guesswork does come into it somewhat. But I don't care because they look so good. When you think Panerai was one of the very first watches, one of the very first dive watches actually used by the military. So the Italian Navy used these and absolutely loved them. That's why they're always oversized. In fact, these are a tiny bit smaller than the original size ones. The case themselves, as you can see on these, it's just a full brushed affair. So completely brushed, very kind of they've just got a unique look to them. You know automatically if that's a Panerai or not. But all of these models, being luminals, feature this on the side. Now, what this actually does, if you pull this down, there's actually a little runner, a little roller in there, and that applies. If you watch the crown, you can see it pops in and out slightly, and that was to give it better water resistancy back in the day and also protect the crown. Obviously nowadays you don't need that. Both of these watches are 300-meter capable divers, so more than you'll ever need. And simply the crown itself, if you pull on it then, that's now handset. Click it back in and that's now into manual wind. So I'll say it's only manual wind if you listen to it. Very, very smooth. And I don't think you can actually see on the back of this if it winds, because the barrels, these are dual barrel watches, are actually hidden. But that was the whole purpose of this crown protector and seal on the side there. So both of them have this and they look really good for it. They really do. Now, as we come past that, on the case back of these, as you can see, this one here, you do have the new, I think it's a P5000 movement, and it's a dual barrel affair. So I think you can see that on the pinions. I think it's here and here. They are larger, so they'll actually be for the twin barrels. That's how you can get the long extended time period out of this. Now, if you're a watchmaker, you look at this and you automatically think, oh my God, that's going to be a pain to line all these pivots up. But it's only when you take the back off, you realise this is just a cover plate. And once removed, you have normal standard bridges over there, which makes life a lot easier. Now, one small problem I have found with this movement, and when I say problem, I am being super picky here, is this lever here. This controls what's called the beat rate. Now, I put these watches on the time graph, and I think even though they're a few years old now, they were round about +2, +1 second. But the beat rate is easily knocked out. And this is how to the tick and the tock. If it takes too long, the beat rate is slightly out. And this, because it's so easy to move, if you do knock it, you can actually move that quite significantly. So that is a little bit of a pain, to be fair. Now, both these watches, if you get one nowadays, will have a solid case back on there, which is a shame. So I think seeing that movement is beautiful. But would you say it's as beautiful as the older Panerai here? This is technically a relatively simple movement, exquisitely decorated, really done well. Nowhere near as long power as I think it's about 56 hours on this one. But I still have a real kind of, strong theme towards this one. It just sounds, it's so nice. If I wind this one, really, really kind of, big click to it there. It is superb. So no, lovely watch. Anyway, so both these watches, if we go to the strap now, these are both on aftermarket straps. The strap which originally comes with this one is this one here. So this is the strap it comes with. You also get a rubber strap, which I don't have quite to hand at the moment. But this is a really lovely strap. Now, the problem is Hector's dad, who lent me this one, has got incredibly long, big wrists. So this was actually too short for him, I believe. And my wife, this was actually too long for her. So I don't know if you can just see this hole here is slightly different to these ones. And that's where I bought an oval punch and had to punch an extra hole in it. But both of these watches are featured on John's straps from Black Island Watches. Black Island Leatherworks, sorry. And this is a simple tan one he does. And my wife went a bit more girly with this one and went for this rather cool purpley type one, which I think actually does look kind of quite good on there. But anyway, let me put them, I'll put this one on my wrist so you've got an idea how it looks. My wrist size, well, zoom out, I'm wearing the U15 from Zinn, which I think is gorgeous. Obviously, Bob has got the Hanhart 417 ES 1954 Heritage. My wrist size is 7¼ inches. So if I put, that's the one from Hector's dad. I think it just looks fantastic. A Panerai is a Panerai at the end of the day. They look really, really good. For some reason, they're not quite as popular as they used to be, but it's a real shame. This one, I don't think I'll be able to put it on because the strap will simply be too short. And that's it on my wrist. Absolutely beautiful watches. Also, the loom on these is exceptional. It is really strong. And obviously, this one, my old favourite here, yeah, again, very different from the other two, brushed titanium. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of these one, guys, and which would you go for? Would you go for the more simpler 914, or would you go for the slightly more more complicated 915? Anyway, all the best, guys, and most importantly, stay safe out there. Bye.